So, fun fact about me, I am originally from Orange County, California. I was raised in a town called Irvine, which is actually a very well-known city here in Guangdong, at least, in Orange County. It's not far from Disneyland. It's a rather affluent city. When I was there as a young boy, it was still growing, but it has become a very wonderful place to live if you can afford it, because it is one of the most expensive places to live in Southern California. When I was a little boy, it was a very diverse city with people from all over the world, from Asia, from Africa, from the Latin countries. And I had many friends who were from China and Korea and Japan growing up. And I really think growing up in that kind of environment was very beneficial for me in the long run. It's well known as being a city that has an awful lot of Chinese immigrants. And what's going on in this story, I have some personal connections to, and I'll explain why. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rojo Reads the News. I'm your host, Paul. Today, we're going to be talking about birth tourism in my original hometown of Irvine, California. This article comes to us from Roxana Kopetman of Panda Guides. I hope I pronounced that right. Again, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your names. I don't want to. And it was originally sourced by mercurynews.com. Chinese man who ran California birth tourism operation sentenced. Yes, in Irvine, this was a very big deal. There were many, many homes, including in my neighborhood, that had centers like this. A Chinese national who ran an Irvine-based travel company targeted by federal officials as birth tourism operation was sentenced Tuesday to 37 months in prison. But Chow Edwin Chen wasn't in court to hear his sentence. He fled to China in 2016. Chen was one of the operators of You Win USA Vacation Resort, which ran a thriving business at the Carlisle Apartments in Irvine. The company's primary customers were well-to-do pregnant women, mostly from China, who were sold travel packages that included a place to stay in the United States and people to take care of them before and after they delivered babies, who, by law, were American citizens. In the early morning of March 3rd, 2015, Chow's UN operation was one of 3 birth tourism companies raided by some 200 federal agents who knocked on the doors in Irvine, Mission Viejo, Rancho Cucamonga, Roland Heights, and Walnut. While it is not illegal to run such a business, it is illegal to commit immigration and visa fraud in the process, crimes which the birth tourism operators later were accused of committing. This year, the U.S. Department of State issued a new rule that makes it difficult to get a U.S. travel visa for the purpose of giving birth. The birth tourism operators raided in 2015 committed numerous crimes, including visa fraud by helping women lie on their visa application about the true purpose of their trip, according to court documents. I gotta say something. This is not just coming from China. This is a real thing that happens all throughout Orange County, all throughout the country of America. When you arrive at Los Angeles International Airport on a flight coming from mainland China, you will see families together, and you will see that the parents will go to the foreign national line while their children go to the American citizen line. This is very, very common. And also, truth be told, I had more than one student, Chinese women here, whose children were born in America. In fact, born at the same hospital that my parents frequented and lived in the neighborhood that I grew up in. They were coming to me to learn English because their children were American citizens now, and they wanted to immigrate to the United States. Like I said, it's not just Chinese women doing this. This is another fact. When I was working at a 5-star property in Newport Beach, California as a hotel manager, an entire floor of that property was rented out for many months so that a certain individual from the Middle East could come and give birth to their child. It's a very common thing, and it happens a lot. It's not illegal. By the way, I am for immigration. This is one of the things that makes America great, but you have to understand that it happens a lot. A lot. It is huge business, and people are making a lot of money on this. The companies charged women as much as $100,000 for travel and care packages that included housing, meals, and transportation to medical offices. The pricier packages featured shopping sprees to South Coast Plaza and Beverly Hills and field trips to Disneyland. This is my home, man. I know this stuff so well. You see it all the time. Chow pleaded guilty on June 13, 2016 to visa fraud, marriage fraud, and filing a false tax return. But a month later, before he was sentenced, Chow fled the country. In December 2018, he was also charged with contempt of court for fleeing the U.S. while his sentencing was pending. On Tuesday, U.S. District Court Judge James V. Selna in Santa Ana handed Chow a 37-month prison sentence for the visa, marriage, and tax fraud guilty plea. His sentence means that should he return to the United States, there's an arrest warrant for him and he'll have to serve his time, said Assistant U.S. Attorney Charles Pell. Chow's partner, Dongyuan Lee, was sentenced last December to a 10-month prison term. That was believed to be the first sentence handed to a birth tourism operator in the nation. Lee had already been in prison and served her time, so she was released immediately and left for China before the deportation order was carried out. At least 10 other defendants charged in related birth tourism indictments have fled to China. Chow and Lee's Yuwin company advertised a 100-person team to Chinese birth tourism customers. It promoted the benefits of giving birth in the United States, including 13 years of free education from grade school to high school, less pollution than China, and the opportunity to help ease immigration for other family members down the road if a child is an American citizen. Yeah, chain migration. This is something that Donald Trump has gone on the rails for, yet his wife, our First Lady, has done that with her parents who are in D.C. right now. Chain migration. I am okay with this. Okay, I'm not against this. I think that immigration is one of the things that makes America great. Lying to immigration officials, and that is a different story. I mean, that's breaking the law. Of course, you can't support that. In his plea agreement, Chen admitted that in June 2014, while meeting with an undercover agent posing as a birth tourism customer, he put that agent in touch with a trainer in China. That trainer, according to court documents, helped teach pregnant customers how to trick U.S. customs and enter the United States without being detected. You know, as an English teacher, I will also say that there's a subsegment of English teaching that is training Chinese nationals for the interview, for the visa interview. They ask you certain questions. I don't do this. I've never been through that process. I don't even know what questions they would ask. There's a little subsection of the English training centers in China that help tourism, that help tourists, regular tourists and business people go through that process and answer those questions at the consulate so that they can be approved for their visas. I can't tell you how many friends of mine have failed that interview. The cases were developed by the investigative arms of the Homeland Security and the Internal Revenue Service, with assistance from local and federal agencies. Despite the government's issuance earlier this year of a new rule that seeks to block the so-called birth tourists, the practice continues. In April, the city of Orange ordered the shutdown of a small motel that was operating as a birth tourism venue. City officials in Orange offered the closure because the motel was not approved as a boarding or lodging house. The JR Motel had no signs and did not take reservations from the public. It catered only to Chinese women before and after giving birth. That's just in Orange. And then that is on the lower end. The ones in Irvine are for wealthy people doing this. But there are many scales to this. If you drive around North Orange County to places like Garden Grove, you will see the Vietnamese community doing this exact same thing. If you drive to Santa Ana, you see the Mexican and South American communities doing the exact same thing. I know this also happens in Filipino communities, San Gabriel Valley, Koreatown. It is everywhere in Southern California. I think it's gotten the attention because it's China, but really this happens everywhere. It just goes to show American citizens like myself how valuable our citizenship is. I know I've taken my citizenship for granted many times and how wonderful it is to be an American. And the desire to be an American citizen or for your children to be American citizens, for whatever reason, is very, very high. What do you think about this? Comment below. Let me know.